Hello and welcome. You're watching Newsx and I'm Megha Sharma. From the 2001 Parliament attack to the 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks, the Pahalgam attack and the more recently the Delhi terror attack, Russia has consistently stood in solidarity with India, unequivocally condemning terrorism. More than that, Russia has reiterated its willingness to support India in its fight against terrorism. Today, our editor-in-chief Rishabh Gulati posed a question to Kremlin spokesperson on Dmitry Peskov asking if Russia would take action against terrorist bases in Pakistan. Here's the Kremlin spokesperson's response.
Mr. Peskov, thank you very much. We're all looking forward to President Putin's visit and welcoming him here in India. As you are aware, India's national capital has had one of its worst terror attacks in more than a decade. Would Russia support India in the event of India taking any action against terrorist bases in Pakistan?
Well, we strongly condemn terrorism, whatever form of this terrorism and whatever source of this terrorism is. Our country has suffered a lot from the hands of terrorists, and we know the pain of losing people because of acts of terror. And we remember and will be always remembering this pain. And we know that India has faced this threat numerous times, and we stay together with people of India, and we do condemn terrorism. And of course, we think that the only way to combat terrorism is to have an international cooperation. Unfortunately, the divisions that we have now with the European countries limit this possibility for us, but those possibilities are open in alternative directions, like India, like other countries in the east of Russia. So we'll be ready to cooperate with our Indian friends in combating terror.
All right, let's open up this discussion. Professor Madhav Nalapat is on the show with me. Professor Nalapat, in wake of this big visit of President Putin to India, he's going to be coming in the after 2 days, which is 4th of December. You know, front and center is the focus of the close partnership between both countries that transcend trade, that transcend diplomacy and defense, amongst other things in which India and Russia have been working together on. How do you view this association is going to become stronger with the visit of President Putin?
Well, I think you've expressed the whole thing very beautifully. The fact of the matter is that Russia has been a steadfast friend of India, and President Putin has been a steadfast friend of India, and he has been a good personal friend of Prime Minister Modi. The fact that India is hosting President Putin indicates, frankly, the independent foreign policy of India, in the sense that we are not going to be bound by the dictates of other countries or other entities, but we will follow a policy that is suited to our own interest. And the Russians have been friends of India from the 1950s onwards, I would say, right from the 1950s, without a break. And I think that's a remarkable achievement for them. Of course, it doesn't mean that we are going to surrender our new friends. I mean, the United States, for example, is close to India in very many ways, but so is Russia. And for example, this entire logistics supply agreement with Russia, we already signed that with the United States. Now it's LIMOA, and the reason for LIMOA is that India is a special position. So now the Russia-India logistics supply agreement will also be in a very will basically reflect the fact that both countries are great powers, and they will deal with each other on the basis of mutual respect. There is no question of India obeying the dictates of any other country or entity, quite frankly, and neither is there any question of Russia doing the same. I think President Putin coming here is a very welcome sign of the fact that Russia also has a very independent foreign policy. I mean, there have been a lot of, you go to, for example, social media in our northern neighbor, and you'll be full of references to Russia and how Russia is playing a secondary role, a satellite role. That couldn't be further from the truth. And President Putin coming here demonstrated that. There's a whole range of issues in which we can cooperate. Don't forget that Russia is half of Asia, half of Europe. Rare earth minerals, for example, other mining, other mining efforts, all that can easily be done with an Indo-Russian partnership. We already had that partnership in terms of development of so many items, including defense,
Yeah.
and I'm sure that will be carried forward as well. Thank you.
Okay, let's also get in Professor Rohan Gunaratna. Professor Gunaratna, today, Mr. Peskov did that press conference virtually with the Indian media, and he spoke about a number of things, but I think prime focus for him and for Russia is to carry forward this conversation and forging stronger ties when it comes to trade and economics. So he went on and said that, the trade between India and Russia stands at $63 million. $1 billion, it needs to be increased to $100 billion. He spoke about a mobility agreement that is going to be signed, which includes India's skilled and semi-skilled labor who is going to be traveling to Russia in search of job opportunities. He's spoken, and the Ministry of External Affairs officials have also spoken today to the media, and they've said, the focus is going to be more on trade and economics. Yes, defense is on the table. It is one of the most important and primary subjects that India and Russia are tied to. There is the defense minister of Russia who is also going to be present alongside his leader. He's going to be meeting Rajnath Singh, his Indian counterpart. But the focus where a number of deals are also going to be signed, number of those documents are going to be signed in the presence of President Putin and Prime Minister Narendra Modi, are likely to focus on economics, are likely to focus on trade. How should India and Russia go about changing the way trade has traditionally been between both countries? Yes, talking about local currencies, and also talking about how India has traditionally had a trade deficit with Russia.
Firstly, India-Russia friendship is a Cold War friendship. So they have been friends for a very long time. The American-India friendship is only after 1990. Before that, they didn't look at each other favorably. But the Russians have equipped the Indian military and defense capabilities. So although India has manufactured about 60 to 70% of its capabilities, still it's very much dependent on Russian military and defense production, whether it is for the Air Force, whether it is for the land forces or for the naval forces. So there will be very wide-ranging partnership agreements, but defense will remain the key pillar. In fact, there will be a discussion on the procurement of fighter jets from Russia, on defense shield for India. So what is going to happen is that all this is dependent on two things. One is President Trump's position. He has doubled the tariffs on India. India also doesn't want to annoy Trump too much. With regard to oil, trade in oil, there will be an issue. Of course, Russia is very keen and India is very keen to buy and sell Russian oil, which is much cheaper. But at the same time, Russian oil is sanctioned. So India will have to manage that very carefully. Certainly, India and Russia, the partnership is old and it's a steadfast friendship. So I believe that the Americans will understand that. But there will be many challenges that India face with regard to its continuing partnership with Russia in the event there is no resolution to the Ukrainian conflict. So I believe that Witkoff will meet with Putin on Tuesday, just before he travels to India on Thursday, and that itself will pave the way for enhancing that cooperation between Delhi and Moscow.
Okay. I have with me Alison Mutler as well. Alison, thank you for joining us. And what is your analysis? What is your perception of the visit that is being made by President Putin in wake of a very tumultuous time India has experienced with the United States of America, and that free trade agreement, that comprehensive strategic partnership between India and United States still has not been completed thus far?
Well, I'm coming from a more European perspective here. I'm based in Bucharest, Romania. This visit is extremely important for Putin in terms of trade. It's the first state visit, I think, to India since 2022 when Russia invaded Ukraine. Russia needs friends in the world. It's friends with China, but it's very much the junior partnership. India is a very important trade and diplomatic partner for Russia. It's in the same neighborhood to a certain extent. They have a lot of defense interest, oil, etc., and both countries support each other. That said, India has actually declared itself neutral in the war, in Russia's invasion of Ukraine, and has provided humanitarian and other non-military aid to Ukraine. So it's not openly siding with Russia in its war against Ukraine. But beyond that, it does have good relations, and the global power is shifting towards Asia away from Europe and the United States. So it's important for Russia to have good relations with India, and India to have good relations with Russia, because India needs Russian military, Russian stealth planes, etc. Both countries are nuclear powers. That's so they are equal on that footing. So it is also, it's very important for Putin. He has been something in the West of a pariah. He can't travel abroad. He couldn't, for example, attend the late Pope's funeral this year. He can't. There's a lot of countries he can't fly to. Talks were called off in Budapest. But in India, he is welcomed. That said, I've been reading about the amount of security that's been going on, this very, very careful security preparation, because he is, wanted as a war criminal. So there are issues with that. But that won't be the focus of the talks in India. It will be on trade, it will be on military, on developing ties. Putin really needs to assert himself on the world stage, because in the West he is seen, with some exceptions, as a pariah. So he will want to assert himself in countries where he is welcomed, and that includes India. So it's a very important visit for him. He hasn't been for many years, since 2022, and it's important for trade and politically and diplomatically.
Okay. Major General Shashi Asthana is also joining me on the telecast. And General Asthana, there have been, a lot of murmurs about the Sukhoi 57s, whether India is, very interested in buying this fifth generation stealth technology from Russia, talking about the S-500s, an improved version of the S-400s that we had very successfully used against Pakistan in Operation Sindhu. There's also talks about this 10,000 crore rupees. It's a massive deal that India is looking to sign with Russia to purchase those S-400 missiles. Is all of this, and while some may happen in of course of a few months, others may take a longer time, is this also very much dependent on how our deal with America is coming along?
See, Russia, our defense partnership with Russia is time tested, and as was mentioned earlier, out of all the relationships with various countries, I think we had ups and downs, but the relationship with Russia has always been absolutely steadfast. So as far as the defense partnership is concerned, they have been a trusted defense partner. We are certainly looking at more S-400 and the delivery of the remaining S-400. President Putin is coming with a large delegation, and I think there is a lot on table as far as the defense part is concerned. So first let me finish the defense, and then let me talk about the other things. Firstly, as far as the stealth fighter is concerned, it is one of the options. It's not the only option, but certainly it's one of the most lucrative options, because the American jet stealth fighter is very costly. and is not meeting our requirement. And this is certainly a much better piece as far as the Indian Air Force is concerned. Secondly, we are also looking at S-500, the additional ones, because they have got even better guns, and maybe from S-400 remaining after the remaining batteries, we may look at S-500 too. Also, in the nuclear domain, I think the nuclear power plants, they are also coming up with an option of small nuclear reactors, which are very popular. So I think that would be another point of negotiation in case, because we need those kinds of these nuclear reactors. Also, at the same time, Peskov was quite clear with the trade imbalance, and therefore he is also looking at and bringing a delegation of a kind that there will be a forum of the importers of Russia, because they are very conscious that they must import more from India to set this trade balance right. And also, this trade imbalance is creating a rupee ruble problem as well when we talk of, because they are far too in excess of rupees. So I think that is also going to be addressed in some manner or the other, and they are looking at putting together all the businessmen of Russia along with the businessmen of India to settle this trade
Yeah.
deficiency. At the same time, there is a lot on table as far as our connectivity corridors are concerned. There could be some discussion on that as well. Also, we are looking at increasing the possibility of trade to $100 billion by 2030. And this was a commitment made last time also. I think we made some progress, but let's see how it goes. And that is why his delegation has also been designed in that manner. So also from the defense point of view, there is a possibility of signing the RELOS, that is a reciprocal exchange of logistic support. Now, this has been cleared by Russian Duma, and I'm sure India will have no problems in signing that, for the simple reason because we had similar agreement with the USA, and we have with almost half a dozen countries, we have already signed this kind of agreement. So
Okay.
I'm sure that would also work out well.
Okay.
So these are some of the things which are there in pipeline. I'm sure this visit is going to be to strengthen the partnership, and there is no doubt that India is doing a tightrope walk as far as the West expectation from us are concerned and our relationship with Russia is concerned. But notwithstanding that, India has made a call. The fact that President Putin is coming here, and the fact that India has agreed to whatever is being done or whatever are the agenda points. So I think we have already given a message that we are quite clear that we maintain our strategic autonomy.
Okay.
We will
All right.
have the relationship as per our choice.
Yeah.
Back to you.
Yeah. Professor Nalapat, coming to you, a very straightforward question. When we talk about the Sukhoi 57s versus the F-35 that the Trump administration has been wanting India to purchase, it's a tight rope that India will have to walk.
Well, I'd like to point out at this very minute, President Trump's special envoy Steve Witkoff and his son-in-law Jared Kushner will be meeting with President Putin and his team at this very moment. That meeting must be taking place. I don't expect very much from this meeting for a simple reason that Zelensky is not a partner for peace. And President Trump had got that correct from the beginning, but in this new avatar, unpredictable avatar, he has somehow taken a 180-degree turn on that, as he has on several other occasions. Well, the Russians are now taking India very seriously. For example, RT, the Russian television channel, Russian television, is now setting up an office in New Delhi, a very large office, and they're going to have special broadcasts, India and Russia, which is really showing the significance of India in the overall policy of Russia. I would say, quite frankly, the Ukraine war is going nowhere for those European powers who are spending money on this war. The Americans are pulled out very wisely, and so the European taxpayer is footing the burden, and it's only a matter of time before they basically protest. So the question is very simple. The question is, India and Russia have a time-tested relationship. And what is wrong with the relationship when at this very moment President Trump's own son-in-law is meeting President Putin? And I just want to point out that, quite frankly, Russia and India are both great powers. The US and China are great powers. And if Russia, President Trump had a great idea in the beginning, as candidate Trump and subsequently for some time, that Russia and the US could come together. If that happens, I can tell you, and if there's India as well, then you basically have a situation in which these three great powers will basically have a very dominant voice in the international order. So,
Okay.
I mean, I don't know what's going to happen to President Trump in his new avatar, but I don't think these talks of today are going to go anywhere for a simple reason that Zelensky is not interested in peace. He is interested in prolonging this war because it keeps him in his job and it keeps a lot of his friends with business opportunities, as you have seen from the corruption scandals that are coming. And of course, General Astana is very pleased to know RT is coming to Delhi
Yeah.
because he figures prominently on RT in Moscow. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay, Professor Gunaratna, talking about the way situation stands in the Ukraine-Russia conflict, of course, that is going to be a point of conversation as well between both the heads of governments when they meet 2 days later. India has always maintained its stance that negotiations are the way to go for a peace process, a peace to return to the territories of Ukraine and Russia. And while there are hectic negotiations taking place between US and Ukraine and then US and Russia, Russia has continued, Moscow has continued to speak its mind, talking about how Ukraine cannot be a part of NATO. There is, of course, a desire for Russia, by Russia, for India to show greater support to Moscow. But how do things move forward in terms of India and its stance when it comes to this East European conflict?
The Russians have a wider issue with the Europeans and with the West. That is, Moscow does not want there to be a NATO build-up on the Russian border. And that is why this fight started with Ukraine. That position of the Europeans have not changed significantly. That is why in the leaked draft agreement, Putin very clearly said that Ukraine should not be a part of NATO. And I think that there is great understanding today of Russian security concerns. The other issues that are being raised will be negotiated and discussed in the coming days between the Americans and the Russians. President Trump is playing a very pivotal role with Witkoff and Jared Kushner in these negotiations. India itself has taken a position because it's a steadfast ally of Russia, and India will continue to support the Russian point of view. Of course, India has been also very careful to provide humanitarian assistance to Ukraine. So I think that Minister Jayashankar has handled this issue very intelligently. He's a very bright, far-reaching leader. So I believe that India's position with regard to Ukraine is a position that benefits Indian interests.
Okay. All right. Quickly, a response from you, Alison, with regards to how is the world and particularly the West, United States of America and Europe perceiving this visit of President Trump to India?
Sorry, President Putin.
Sorry, beg your pardon, President
Yeah,
Putin to
yeah.
India. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, Putin needs all the support he can get in the world. So at this moment, particularly internationally, I mean, nationally he's guaranteed it because he lives in a dictatorship and he has all the media and his the people who surround him. So it's not a problem at home particularly, but abroad he needs a strong partner like India. So that's very important. And basically, Russia and India, they're looking for a business deal to end this conflict in Ukraine. And that is why Marco Rubio, who is the US State Secretary for or like the foreign minister, has been excluded. And he's not going to talks with the NATO defense ministers tomorrow. Trump wants to settle this in a business manner to have access to Ukraine's mineral resources, which is also suits Russia as well. Whether they will be able to push this through is another matter, because you have the Europeans to contend with, NATO contend with, and also Donald Trump, the American president, has flip-flopped. He is basically more pro-Russian at heart, I think, for whatever reason. But on the other hand, he then changes his mind from time to time. So it looks like these talks are going to go on for a very long time. But as for Putin visiting India, I think it's seen as a way for Putin to try and build up a better international reputation than he has, and to try and strengthen his home base as well, and to try and get some deals. I mean, military deals, but also diplomatic and political. So, as I said earlier, there is a shift in the global power from the west towards the east.
Okay, all right. I'm out of time. I thank all of you for joining me on the telecast. We'll keep a close eye on all these developments. Of